The TPP is a very corrupt proposed trade deal spearheaded by President Obama. I'm very sad to say, somebody who I voted for in this last election, actually caucused for him in the previous election. But the TPP is basically going further in the direction that NAFTA did in the early 90s, in which workers' rights are being eroded for multinational corporations' interests and ultimately their profitability. This proposed trade deal is so corrupt, we don't even know what's in it. Recently, actually, we do know a couple of different facets. We know that were leaked thanks to WikiLeaks, and we know that it's going to cut about $700 million from Medicare, already a struggling social institution in our country that provides my parents' generation and just the older generations, middle-aged and older, as well as all generations really, with assistance in getting the health care they need. We also know that in this trade deal, there's a stipulation that allows multinational corporations, McDonald's, Nike, whoever, all the typical big names that make trillions of dollars at the expense of workers both in America and abroad, paying them next to nothing. And of course in abroad, even worse, sweatshop labor. But even in America, we're at wage slavery status for so many Americans. We know that this stipulation allows these corporations that are already making an absolutely unconscionable killing, economically speaking, allows these corporations to sue the governments that could possibly get in the way of their profit margins. So, hypothetically speaking, say Singapore, one of the countries involved in this trade deal, if the Singaporean government decided to cut out sweatshop labor 100%, to vouch for their workers' rights, and say that sweatshop is contributing product, blood-stained product, to, say, Nike. Nike, under this proposed trade deal, the TPP, would have the right to sue the Singaporean people in order to recoup their losses. And that's just one of the many instances that a multinational corporation could sue one of the peoples involved, whether Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, Japan, South Korea, the American people, and there's Australia, New Zealand, I think I'm missing a country or two, but essentially the Pacific Rim countries. So again, as NAFTA was geared towards Canada and especially Mexico, and we've seen how that's eroded the workers' rights of Mexico. We've seen how that's led to the drug wars along the border between America and Mexico, and how it's just impossible there to. I was talking to my friend about this the other day, who's born and raised in the south of Mexico, and how he has cousins there who have to buy their job. I mean, we're talking about massive corruption at every scale of society. And what was that born from? By the trade agreements proposed by the American government. Now, politicians involved with this, especially Obama, will use all sorts of feel-good phrases such as promoting American trade. If it's so good, why is it that we don't even know what is in this bill? And why is it that those little pieces that we do know, why are they so god-awful for not just the American people, but all of the peoples of the world, essentially, and of course, especially the Pacific Rim? There's no doubt erosion of environmental rights, of human rights, as mentioned before, of how literally people's citizens could be penalized because they dare to stand up and not have sweatshop labor, as for one example of a myriad that could happen, justifying multinational corporations suing Without exaggeration, this is the most important cause of our entire lifetimes. And I don't just mean my generation, who's in a unique position to actually affect change because of our familiarity with the internet. The older generations don't even know this is happening. What was just approved by Congress was the fast track for the TPP. Essentially, President Obama being able to write it exactly as he wishes, and of course still in complete secret, at least as much as possible, and then presenting it to Congress at a later date, we don't know when, saying vote yes or vote no. And with all of the pressures that the president has at his disposal right now, it does look like this is going to pass unless we stand up and do something about it. We are talking about our future here, people, not just in one country, not just in these countries, but in the entire world. Because quite frankly, already environmentally, we are just killing ourselves, we're poisoning ourselves with the CO2 emissions that we're putting out there. And with this piece of legislation, allowing the United States especially, one of the chief, along with China, one of the chief polluters in the world, if not the chief polluters in the world. Polluter, I suppose. If we have even more environmental deregulation, I honestly can't see us surviving past another decade, max, at this point. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this to get you to realize just how important this is. And again, this isn't just for, my generation or whatever other generation to fight. This is for all of us, because ultimately this is killing all of us. This is draining all of us, whether it's Medicare or, no doubt, enforcing even more wage slavery. That especially hits my generation, who's been having to pay astronomical prices to even get an education, a public education, past the K through 12 process. So we're already dealing with student debt here, student loan debt. This is going to push it all to another level. And without exaggeration, if this passes, and if it stays there, if the Supreme Court doesn't get involved, or more importantly, if we don't get involved as a people, and this isn't just for Americans, this is for everyone involved, and this is really for everyone around the world, because this is impacting everybody. Multinational corporations in America are draining this world. It's no secret. We all understand it. We all know it. The question is, are we going to do something about it? Do we care about this world? Are we going to change? There are a lot of activists fighting against the fast track for the TPP. And House Democrats, very tellingly, and especially Senator Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi, came out against TPP. Two of the largest leaders in the Democratic Party came out with the majority of House Democrats and said no. So what happened after that? This was mid to late last week. What happened after that? President Obama met privately with Democrats, and about 30 of them changed sides. And even more tellingly, House Republicans were overwhelmingly for this deal, as they always have been for trade deals that have just completely bankrupted the American people as well as other peoples, all in the name of profit. Being lazy, hearing phrases like promoting American trade and saying, yep, I'll vote for it, corrupt out of their minds, really. So that battle is done. The fast track, it's been approved. Now Obama is going to orchestrate, he's going to organize this bill. He's going to put it up to Congress. Now we don't know when. No doubt it's going to be soon. So he can build on this momentum. I don't want you to despair if it happens. Our system is so corrupt and broken anyways, as per representing what it's supposed to represent, who it's supposed to represent, the people, the democracy. We're no longer a democracy. This is an oligarchy. Corporations own our government. The government does not function in the interest of the American people. Otherwise, the fast track never would have been approved in the first place, as so much other legislation wouldn't be approved. The big banks that caused the Great Recession recently wouldn't be allowed to go free reign and to be continuing their wanton destruction. But they have been able to. So, it comes down to us as human beings, as citizens, not just in America, but around the entire world, to stand up and say, enough. Enough. Corporations have bled us dry for too long. And they will kill us. They will kill this planet. If we don't speak up, if we don't allow our voices to be heard, if we don't stand up for our rights and the rights of our children, at this point, this world isn't even going to be here for any children to enjoy. And at this point, with minimum wage so low and so few options, and with public education costing an arm and a leg, at what point are we going to stop being apathetic, especially in America, but all around the world, and finally stand up for ourselves? I'm way past that point. I'm doing what I can do. Do your part. If you want a world to even live in, that's literally where we're at this point. So again, the TPP has not passed yet. Just the fast track part is passed. It will come up for vote again. It's up to you, just like it's up to all of us, to speak to our representatives. And I encourage you, if you live in another country, and especially a country that's impacted by this deal directly, even though all countries truly are being impacted by this because of the environmental deregulations, the human rights violations that will be occurring because of this bill. And it's not going to stop at East Asia. It's going to keep spreading. If we even have that long as a planet. If multinational corporations don't literally bleed this planet dry of life, there will be an African trade deal, a South American trade deal, a European trade deal. It's not going to end until we finally stand up. Contact American representatives, whether you're an American or not, and especially if you're an American. Your senators, your House representatives. And talk to other people about this. This is, without exaggeration, the most important thing that we could stand up to in our lifetime. It impacts all of us. None of us have any excuse to be apathetic or to just roll over. So please, do your part. I'll be doing mine. And again, if Congress and especially the president take the even more underhanded route of just basically forcing this thing through legislation, don't despair. It doesn't mean that it's all lost. If we're still here, if we're still alive, there's still hope. I'm not giving up. Ever. While there's still life in me. So if it were to pass, then pressure the Supreme Court to stand up and say this is blatantly against the rights and the interests of the American people and the peoples of the entire world, and especially of East Asia. And they will deem it unconstitutional. There's always a way if we just stand up and refuse to stay down. So again, I'll be doing my part. I hope you do your part. And I'll be doing his part. Namaste. I'm optimistic. I really am. I know that we can make things right. But it is going to take us working together.